Welcome everyone to this webinar hosted by TalentoTotal, as well as Duke University and the Duke Law School with Jennifer Marr. Thank you all for joining today. I think we have individuals tuning in from across the globe, including Latin America, as well as the United States. So we'll go ahead and get started. What we'll do is just start off with a brief overview of the timeline for this presentation, as well as a few slides that we'll share to provide some perspective on the Duke Law School program, as well as TalentoTotal and our mission. So I'll go ahead and get started with sharing my screen for that portion of the presentation. So here we go. All righty. All right. So once again, I am Jim McCrary. I am the founder and CEO of TalentoTotal. We also have Jennifer Marr, or Dean Marr, from the Duke Law School, who serves as the Associate Dean for International Studies at Duke University. All right, as I mentioned before, a quick agenda and an overview of what we'll be discussing today. The TalentoTotal program, as well as our partnership with the Vance Center for International Justice, which is an arm of the New York City Bar Association. We'll also briefly touch on the Total Law Prep program, our objectives, our mission, how we work with law schools, as well as law firms and pro bono clearinghouses to increase diversity and inclusion within the legal profession across the Americas. We'll also hand it off to Dean Marr to discuss the Duke Law School, and we'll wrap things up with questions from Dean Marr, as well as 3 other participants from the Duke Law School who will be able to share their insights as well as their knowledge of the program. All righty, so the partnership. We're gonna make this pretty informal to an extent. I'm definitely going to try to make this as light and interactive as possible. We have people tuning in from across the world, as I mentioned. There's also a chat menu that you can see to the right of your YouTube screen. So if you have questions, or if you want to engage, if you want to address any questions that you have regarding the Total Law Prep program, as well as to Duke University and their representatives, please feel free to do that. Chime in, let us know where you're tuning in from. And anything that you have that you would like to ask, feel free to enter that into the chat box, and we'll be happy to answer your questions as we move forward throughout the presentation. So the Cyrus R. Vance Center for International Justice and TalentoTotal have partnered in this collaborative effort to foster diversity and inclusion within the legal profession. And this kind of ties back into my own personal story. So I'll introduce the program and the partnership, as well as introduce myself. So I actually am not a lawyer. I don't have a JD. I don't have an LLM. I never considered going to law school. But over the past couple of years, as I built out this program and this nonprofit organization, which is TalentoTotal, we saw a need for more diversity in the legal profession. So at the outset of the program, it was begun to create a leadership pipeline for the corporate sector. So I come from a banking background. I'm also ex-military, having served in the U.S. Army for roughly 7 years. Developed professionally. I had an opportunity to take advantage of a number of programs specifically focused on diversity and inclusion, but more in particular on Afro-American young professionals. And so a number of those programs could be the Minority Admissions Department at West Point, which recruited me from a predominantly Black high school, as well as programs like Management Leadership for Tomorrow, which played a pivotal role in helping me access an opportunity to attend a top business school in the United States. So after I graduated from business school in 2013, I entered Citibank's Global Engagement Management Associate Program, which took me to New York City for roughly a year. And after a year in New York City, I participated in 2 international rotations. My first rotation was to Brazil. My second rotation was to Colombia. So that creates this connectivity and connection that this program has to Latin America. And so one of the things that I struggled with and that I experienced while I was working in Latin America was just a lack of presence and diversity along racial and ethnic lines. So in 2018, I, along with my co-founder, Doug Nagy, who also graduated from the University of Chicago, created this program to offer and provide guidance to young professionals who identify as Afro-descendant or indigenous to attend top business school programs in the United States. And over the course of those 2 years, I found out how important it was for an organization to have a very strong legal foundation. And so as I ventured out to look for support in the form of pro bono legal advice, I perused various law firms throughout Latin America, and I visited websites, and I kind of saw the same challenge that I saw on the business side, which was a lack of representation from, in my particular case, Afro-Colombian and Afro-Brazilian young lawyers. And so one of the things that we decided to do was to create a law program that paralleled our MBA prep program. And so I think almost a year ago, in a meeting that I had at the U.S. State Department in Washington, D.C., I was connected to the Vance Center for International Justice in New York City. So the Vance Center was able to bring in this legal expertise and this connectivity to over, I would say, 250, 300 law firms outside of the United States alone, as well as over 900 law firm lawyers. And so the fusion of these two organizations created that expertise and the knowledge that we needed from the legal side to create a robust program that can provide a pipeline for leadership talent in the legal profession. So that is the partnership with the Vance Center. Just going into the Total Law Prep program in a little bit more detail. So this year is our first year. We actually closed the application cycle last week, but we continue to provide this interaction, this connection to top law schools like Duke, and lawyers and other professionals who can provide insight and knowledge into the LLM process. How do you apply? How do you connect with admissions officers? How do you learn about programs? How do you connect with graduates who may identify as Afro-Brazilian, Afro-Colombian, Afro-Latino, indigenous, et cetera? And so for this first year, we're looking at targeting several countries that are mentioned here: Brazil, Colombia, the Dominican Republic, Guatemala, Mexico, Panama, and Peru. But we're also accepting applicants or accepted applicants from throughout Latin America. And the idea is that we're going to select 6 high potential young lawyers who we will provide guidance and coaching and mentorship to apply to top LLM programs in the United States. And each fellow will be paired with a mentor or 2 mentors, excuse me, one who is a lawyer in the candidate's home country. So if you're a Brazilian citizen who identifies as Afro-descendant or indigenous and you're accepted into our program, you will be paired with a lawyer in Brazil who works at a law firm or who practices law in that country. And then you'll also be paired with an LLM or JD graduate from the school in the United States or Europe, who will also provide some expertise in terms of how to apply to a top LLM program and create a fantastic application. So going on to the next slide. This is the program cycle. So essentially, we look at this as a 3-year process. We invest in you, obviously, during the first year of the program, where we help you understand your candidacy, understand what you bring to the table as an applicant for a top LLM program. And again, we pair you with a coach and a mentor who can provide you with that guidance and insight, because they've already walked through that path to arrive at a top law school or LLM program, and also practice at various organizations. And so that's the first year, as I just explained, that kind of entails the Total Law Prep program. Then the idea is that in your second year or year 1, you're actually going through an LLM program in the United States or Europe, and you're gaining that expertise, you're gaining that international knowledge, you're competing with some of the top lawyers in the world. And we hope that you bring those skills and those experiences back to your home country after you complete an international associate program in year 2. So the idea, and this is not a guarantee, but working with top law firms in the United States and Europe, we hope to provide our exceptional candidates with an opportunity to have an experience in the United States or Europe, working for 1 year at a top law firm, again, with the intent to return to their home country in year 3, with these experiences from not only 1 year in an LLM program, but also an experience in Europe or the United States, actually practicing at a top law firm, and hopefully earning accreditation through the bar exam as well. All right, so now we're going to jump into the more interactive part of this conversation and this discussion with Dean Marr and the great team at Duke. I'm really excited today because this is actually the first time that I get to do a webinar in English. We've done several webinars over the past couple of weeks in Portuguese and in Spanish. And each time we have one of those where I'm speaking, my heart beats because I'm wondering if I'm going to get something wrong, and I'm getting text messages on the side with people correcting my Portuguese. One of my good friends and mentors, Josh King, is always there to remind me when I'm saying something wrong in Portuguese. But today it's a little bit more relaxed. We get to do this in English, and this is extremely important for a lot of the applicants who have applied to our program, as well as the prospective candidates who seek to apply to the Total Law Prep program, as well as an LLM program. You have to get really comfortable speaking in a second language. And in this case, if you're attending an LLM program in the United States or Europe, most likely that language will be English. So you have to get used to stepping outside of your comfort zone so you can access these opportunities and bring these great skills back to your home country. So I'm going to go ahead and get things started. And what I want to do is kind of stop this presentation and introduce Dean Marr. So as you can see, Dean Marr has been to Bogota. And if you have lived in Bogota or visited Bogota, you know that you must make a stop at Andres DC, which is almost mandatory for anyone who's coming into town. So yesterday, Dean Marr said that she would send me some photos of her interacting in Bogota or Colombia. And when she sent this picture, I knew exactly where she was. So I went ahead and I jazzed it up and threw in a background photo. I'm going to go ahead and introduce her and let her take the mic. And please, Dean Marr, when you take this mic and you talk about the Duke Law program, I also want to have an opportunity for the students to get to know you and understand your background. One of I think the key differences in this webinar in comparison to the other ones that we've had, and I'm going to stop sharing here, is that you bring a wealth of experience. So on previous webinars, we've had Ellie Cosio, who's with us today, and she'll join us a little bit later, as well as Janari Gutierrez. We've also had Lale Coelho, who went to Columbia Law School, but obviously they're practicing lawyers now and fairly young, younger than me. But you bring a wealth of experience, understanding not only what it is to be or work in admissions at a top university, but also what it's like to go through law school, because you have a JD from Duke University as well. So I certainly, for my own education as well, and I think for everyone who's tuned in, we would certainly like to hear about your background, your experience, why you chose law, why you chose Duke, and just a little bit about your trajectory over the past couple of years. Ooh, I think did she freeze on us? Dean Marr, are you there? I think she froze on us. Let's see if we can get her back. Well, if we can't get Dean Marr back, we do have someone who can step in, and I think it might be you, Rima, until we get Dean Marr back. So I'm going to go ahead and add you to the stream, and it looks like Dean Marr is still out. So Rima, if you'd like to hop in and just talk about your experience and introduce yourself to everyone who's joined the call today.
Yes, thank you, Jim. I'm happy to do that. My name is Rima Itzales, and I had a number of different professional experiences prior to coming to academia. I practiced in a large sort of international law firm in Washington, D.C., doing nuclear work. It sounded interesting right out of law school, so I chose that. I did a clerkship. There we go. She's coming back on.
Please finish. Please finish. Please finish.
Yes. So sometimes having a different experiences before coming to academia can help students, because then you can speak to the students about these different experiences. But at Duke, I direct and teach in the legal writing program for international students, and I assist in reviewing all sorts of applications for LLMs, including from Colombia.
Awesome. That's awesome to hear. Dean Marr, do we have you back? It looks like you had a connection.
Yeah, I have. You have me on the iPhone. How does that? Can you hear
It's
me?
fine. I can hear you great. Rima, can you hear her? Okay.
I can, yes.
Okay. No, we can hear you great, Dean Marr. It's good to be flexible. Let's make it happen.
My laptop, my laptop crashed. I'm actually trying to get back in that way.
Okay.
But, thank you very much for the introduction, and I'm so glad you brought from the backstage Professor Idzelis, who is a very important part of our team. We actually have several people in the backstage, especially for answering questions. And you had, when my laptop shut down, you were asking me to tell you a little bit about my background, and I'm happy to do so. I've actually been working with LLM students at Duke Law School for more than 30 years. And it's been a great pleasure. The way that Duke is organizing its LLM program, we do all parts of the program, from recruiting and admitting students, reviewing their application, to giving them academic advice, to giving them career advice, to making their year as smooth and exciting as possible. And then we stay in touch with them as alumni. So we have a sort of lifelong experience, and I have 30 plus years of that experience, and it's just a great pleasure. I'm going to try to go in on my laptop because that works better for me. So hang on, let's see if that works.
Okay.
Maybe you can, if you want to put the PowerPoint up and
Sure.
Move to the slide after me drinking in Bogota.
All right. Fair enough. Here we go. Go ahead.
So let's see if I can get into the studio.
All right.
What I want to explain about the Duke program, I'm going to use the Duke program as an example of to give you more insights about what is an LLM.
I got you back on.
Right, and I've got myself off the phone. Okay.
Okay.
So you may be aware that law education in the United States is a graduate degree. So the Americans who are studying law in a Juris Doctor or JD program, they already have an undergraduate degree from a university. At the same time, law schools like Duke will have a Master of Laws degree, and often the students in that program are all from another country, using the background that they have in law. They come in for 1 year, and different law schools handle this degree differently. The Duke model, maybe we move on to the next slide, if you don't mind.
Sure.
The Duke model is to put the international LLM students in the same courses and give them the same experience as the American law students. So one of the things that's special about American law schools, I think, is that we have a responsibility to create professionals. We're not just teaching the theory of law. We also must teach skills. And part of the way that our students learn the skills of speaking in public and being confident and thinking things through as they are analyzing them is to be called on in class. So here is a picture of one of our students from Colombia. And She seems very happy. I think she's about to be called on and give her interpretation of the reading that she's done. I emphasize this to tell you a little bit about how important strong English is, because she would have read 100 pages of difficult legal text and listened to her colleagues around her or classmates speak, be asked questions by the professor, speak herself, and at the end take a written examination or write a research paper. So all aspects of English are important, and I will return and can answer questions about how to prepare for that if it's of interest. So let's move to the next slide.
All righty.
The curriculum for the LLM program at Duke, which is a general LLM, has the advantage of giving students access to almost every course that we teach. And rather amazingly, in the law school, we offer about 200 law courses every year that students may choose among. We have a high number of faculty in relation to students, so that students get personal attention from the faculty. They are encouraged to go to office hours and to get to know the faculty outside of the classroom. LLM students at Duke can also take some of these courses that are also teaching skills. So that legal clinic that I list here means that LLM students can represent real clients, but they're being closely supervised by a full-time faculty member, but they're learning by doing and also helping people who cannot afford legal representation. And then the final thing listed there are a series of courses that we offer between the fall and the spring semester that bring high-level practicing lawyers into the law school to teach courses in how to do things. Also be great contacts for people who are looking to find a position after the LLM with a top-level law school. So let's move on. The other thing that is interesting and unusual about US legal education, and especially strong at Duke, is that law students are studying more than law. They are encouraged to look at legal problems from many angles, and the law school cooperates closely, often through the centers I have listed here, which are interdisciplinary, with the MBA program, with the School of the Environment, with the Public Policy School, with the Computer Science School. So for people who have studied law as an undergraduate student and not had the experience of studying in other disciplines, the LLM program is really exciting because you could
I think Dean Meyer's connection went out again. Rima, can you take over?
Sure, absolutely.
All right. Awesome.
So we do really encourage sort of a multidisciplinary view of not just the law when you learn about it in curriculum and in courses, but also in an extracurricular fashion. Just like many law schools, we have all sorts of lunchtime talks and symposia that come through. And we really want to take oftentimes sort of a holistic look at a legal problem. And I think it attracts a lot of talent from all over the world to come and view problems in a sort of multifaceted way sometimes. So we're very proud of our collaborations with these different institutes and different arms at Duke.
Okay, I think we have Dean Moore back, and back to phone. This is what it's all about. We are living in a very challenging time right now with COVID-19 and a pandemic, and trying to figure out how to do things from around the world digitally. So I think you're back, right, Dimar?
I am.
All right.
And
Cool.
The COVID-19 has worn my computer out, and it just keeps giving up on me. So, yeah.
This works
so
for us.
in addition to interdisciplinary studies, we want you to have fun. Now, why is that? If you move on to the next slide of vibrant student life, that's because a major part of the LLM experience is actually developing your personal relationship with lawyers from all over the world. At Duke, we will typically have about 100 LLM students from as many as 40 countries. And we are coordinating them and putting them in class with the American JD students. And they are from every state of the United States, and some of them are from other countries. So to have a fun time with everybody will help you cement those relationships that will be valuable for the rest of your life. So we look at the whole student, the whole life, and try to make sure that it is just a fabulous year for you. Let's move to the next slide. Just to illustrate better what examples of activities outside of class, I have listed some things. So LLM at Duke, which is not the case in every law school, but this is part of our process. They may take these clinical courses, or they may take a course in which they actually work outside of the law school. Again, they meet with a faculty member, and they are very closely supervised and are learning while they're doing it. But they may work with an in-house counsel or a non-governmental organization in the area. They can work on a law journal, which are student-run. They can compete in moot court teams. They can volunteer legal services to people who need that kind of help. And they can lead student organizations. Shall we move to the next slide?
Can you see that one, Dimar? It's of Ellie. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. So here is another person who's joining you, and she's in the backstage, Ellie Cosio, who had the experience of being part of a wonderful clinic called the International Human Rights Law Clinic. And I hope that she'll be able to tell you a little bit more about that experience. I want to talk a little bit about Ellie because Ellie was the first person that we were able to bring to Duke Law School with an Afro-Colombian background. And I had learned that there was a predecessor program to the Talento. And at that time, I was in Bogota. I spoke to people. I said, Duke would love to participate. But I really didn't hear much more until suddenly Ellie said, I'm coming to visit. I would like to go to Duke. And it was a great fortune for us that she had that kind of drive to get herself here, to impress us, to be admitted to our program. And we were also able to offer her a tuition scholarship that made it possible for her to join us at Duke. So I want to hold that out to you. These things are possible for everyone listening, I am sure. And Ellie can tell you a little bit more about her experience. Let's move to the next slide. One of the things that is important to the LLM students is what happens in their professional career after they finish the LLM program. And we think that it's important that we put resources and effort into helping our students figure out the next steps for themselves. We do that by coaching, by bringing speakers who are LLM graduates with interesting and different careers, and introducing students to them, reviewing their resumes, and really looking for every opportunity that we can steer them towards, with the idea that the market makes the decision eventually of whether to hire somebody. But the Duke LLM students are well prepared to shine in the market. And this slide shows you a little bit. You can see that the majority of our graduates do go into a law firm. Some go straight into business on the legal side or government, NGOs. There's really a wide variety of that we offer support for students to find their way. And the other part of the slide shows you some of the major international law firms and employers that hired. This is the class of 2019. So just the group from 2019 where they ended up working. Let's look at the next slide. They're all over the world. And again, this value of having an enjoyable time together and making fond memories is an important part of the LLM program, because then you're part of a network that we're working on covering the globe. We're working on filling in those few countries that we don't have represented yet. And I can call my former students in any country and say, there's an American firm looking for legal help in your country, and I'd like to refer them to you. And those contacts are really important. And the personal ones also, they continue on among students. They come back to the law school for reunions and they stay in touch. Let's move on to the next slide. I wanted to show you a couple of pictures of the university itself and talk to you a little bit about American universities. The interesting thing is that they are not necessarily in a big city, but they can have beautiful campuses. So this is a photograph of what is called the chapel at Duke University, but it is more like a cathedral, actually. It's the center of the campus. And Duke has a huge campus with forests and botanical gardens and tennis courts and soccer pitches, what we call soccer. And this is all at the fingertips of the LLMs to enjoy and take advantage of. Next slide, please. And the next slide is a picture of a new building. It's the Wellness Center. It is dedicated to keeping students healthy in every way. And it includes a meditation garden and a grand piano that you can play if that helps you relax. And the doctors, the pharmacy, the dentist, and it's very close to the law school, everything that you would need to stay healthy in that year. Next slide. A little bit more about Durham, North Carolina. North Carolina is in the southern part of the United States on the East Coast, and it's actually in the middle of the East Coast. It's almost equal to go to Miami or to Boston, and very well connected to all of those larger cities, but a really nice place to live while you're studying. There are great restaurants. This is kind of a list of all of the recognition of what the country and the world think about Durham, a very good place to live, and still less expensive than many of the cities of the East Coast and West Coast and even Chicago. So this is an advantage of Durham. And the next slide, I wanted to show you a little bit about the community of Durham. Durham actually has a very mixed population. It has professionals who are African American. You can see on the right of this slide, the city council and the mayor, very diverse group. And on the left is a Duke Law graduate who is the district attorney of our county. She was elected to that position, and she is the chief prosecutor. She is reforming the legal system because she sees that it has been unfair to Afro-Americans, and she is very effective. We have had social unrest, as you probably have read about in the US recently, but in Durham, it has been peaceful. The demonstrations have had the police helping students and other people who are demonstrating. And I'm very proud of where I live and its diversity and its openness to people who are from all sorts of different backgrounds. Let's look at the next slide. This is our dean, a wonderful person. I call her a young woman because she's much younger than I am, but she is an excellent leader, very thoughtful, and very much supportive of the Master of Laws program as well. And the next slide I want to show you, I want to suggest one more idea. We have a summer program at Duke to improve students' legal English and introduce them to the US legal system. So I was speaking to Jem about this program and how it might be a way to help you improve your English and improve your application to LLM programs. And perhaps we would find a way to bring some students to this program. This coming summer, it's going to be all online, as everything is, but I hope in a year or so, it will be back into this in-person immersion in the US legal system, using English and building the legal vocabulary every single day. So that's really pretty much the end of my presentation. The last slide gives you some ways to follow us and be in touch. But now I hope you have a lot of questions, and I'm going to try to get back on my laptop so I can see them because I've given it a little rest. Thank you for listening, and let's have an interactive experience with a lot of questions and our colleagues answering them.
Awesome. So here's what I'll do. Since this is an interactive event, and we obviously have received a ton of questions from the audience. I see a lot of people from Quibdó or from Chocó. We have some people tuning in from Honduras, as well as Bogota. So I guess I'll kind of kick things off with a question of my own to kind of get us going, Dimar and Rima. And while I'm doing that, I'm also going to invite Leslie Allen, who is a program coordinator, to the conversation. She's in the background. And I think Ellie is available as well. Let me see if I can get Ellie into the stream. Ellie, can you hear us?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, so you decided to show up. I didn't see a picture or a video. Thought you were going to bail on us. Okay, great. So we have a Chocoana who has joined us. So this is the cool part about all of this because, you know, for me, as we started TalentoTotal, we really focused on the MBA. And unfortunately, there are not a lot of Afro-Latino international students in MBA programs across the United States and across Europe, and even in their home countries. But when I looked at the legal profession, I already saw that there were some great examples of Afro-Latino international students who had already gone and completed an LLM at these amazing schools. So I came across an article that was written about Ellie maybe 2 years ago, I want to say. And I was so excited, I was kind of in disbelief, like, what? They actually have, you know, Afro-Colombian lawyers from Chocó who are in the US, you know, achieving great things. And so I'm so happy to have her here in this discussion. And because I'm not the resident lawyer, I have a teammate here, Leslie. She's an MBA as well. So I'm not alone. I'm going to step out of the way, and I'm kind of just going to field the questions that are coming in from everyone as they pertain to, you know, the Duke law experience, the LLM law schools, and we already have some fantastic questions here. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of field these questions and post them up here. But the first thing I would like to do is just hand the floor to Leslie and Ellie, whichever one of you all would like to go first. I just want to allow you the time to give yourself a brief introduction of who you are, where you're from, and your relationship with Duke University and Duke Law School. Who's first? Who's next? Ellie?
Okay, I'll go first. My name is Leslie Allen. Nice to meet everybody. Buenas tardes. I'm originally from Monterrey, Mexico, which is the north part of Mexico, a very close border to Texas. I moved to the United States almost 13 years ago, and I worked in the government, more recently in the corporate world, doing mostly international trades. And I started with the Duke Law School about almost a year and a half ago. So I joke that instead of trading materials and stocks and everything, now I'm trading students to the United States. So I didn't went too far from my first background. Like Jem, I'm an MBA working with a lot of lawyers, but I'm more than happy to be the connection with our Latino community. And I'm currently the program coordinator for the LLM program. And what I do is pretty much everything. Everybody helps with everything, with events. I also coordinate the Visiting Scholar program. And while you're here and preparing your LLM degree, I am the administrator for the New York Bar applications. And I hope I can meet you in person sometime. And I'm gonna tap on Ellie so she can introduce herself. Nice to see you, everybody.
Thank you, Leslie. Hi, everyone. Hola a todos. Thank you so much for joining. I think this is a great opportunity not only to know about the LLM program at Duke University, but also to know about how is the life in the, or I would say, the education culture in the United States of America. My name is Eli Cosio. I have the great opportunity to do my master program at Duke Law. I also did the summer program that Dimar mentioned before. I would say that the summer program is the best way to start your experience at Duke University or in any other university you want to do your LLM, but I will recommend highly Duke University because it's a way to be introduced to the common law doctrines in the United States, to the legal writing, the way the lawyers write in the United States, to legal English, the US legal system, and in general, the school experience. I would say you that according to my experience, I was very lucky to have a kind of advantage in regards to my other classmates that didn't have the opportunity to do the summer program. You will be with Professor Itzelis. She was one of the professors we have in the summer program, and she was very fundamental to improve my writing skills. I will highly recommend the summer program. I also have the opportunity to be part of one of the clinic at Duke Law. As Dimaher mentioned, I did the human rights clinic. I worked with Professor Huckerby. I had so many opportunities to explore new topics in human rights, such as terrorism, counterterrorism. I also have the opportunity to do some field work in Paris, in France. And yeah, in general, I would say that my experience at Duke Law was amazing. I'm currently in Durham because something about Durham is that when you come, you don't want to leave. So I really love this city. I really love the school, and I really recommend you to have a look at the Duke Law website. Be familiar with everything Duke Law can offer to you as a person and also as a professional in the law field.
So when we first started, or when we had a discussion last week, I said, Ellie, do you want to participate? She said, no, my English, I don't know if I can do it. Your English is so much better than my Portuguese and Spanish. So you could never hesitate to be in a webinar in English. So I'm going to call you all the time when we have a webinar to participate. Cool. It's great to have everyone here. It's great for us to see some real diversity here. I am the only male on the call. So we have women representing very strong here. And I see we also have a lot of women in the chat. So I guess we'll jump into the questions. The first one that I saw here from Ana Camila is, I would like to know, what are the academic admission requirements for an LLM at Duke University? So I'll leave it open to anyone who is the expert. I think all of you all are, but who would like to take this question?
Let me start, and perhaps Professor Itzelis can add some more. We have the fortune of looking at the whole application. We have we hand select everybody that we take in. We speak to them by Skype before we make an admission decision. And we mix together a wonderful group of people from all over the world. And having that flexibility, the one test that is standardized that is important is an English score, either in the TOEFL, or we will accept the IELTS, which is the British English language test. And we state that we would like to see an TOEFL score of 100, but we can be more flexible. So especially if somebody can come to our summer program before, we can take a somewhat lower score. We also look at the experience. Is this person mature? Have they been doing something interesting in their life? Because that's going to make them stronger students. We look at the academic background. This is a top law school, and you're going to be in classes with really smart American law students and really smart lawyers from around the world. But we know that people can bring different strengths. So we will ask you to write a personal statement that explains why you would like to come to law school. It is good to be specific, to look at the Duke Law website, to get excited about some courses and say, I'd really like to take that course. I'm excited about living on this beautiful campus. Whatever is attractive to you, so that we know that you are genuinely done some homework in making that application. What would you like to add, Professor Zelis, to that?
Yeah, absolutely. What you were saying, just to add a couple of things. First, we really do look at all of the different parts of your application. So personal experiences, professional experiences, all of those go into the story when we're looking at your application. And the personal statement that Dean Maher was referencing, oftentimes we'll tell you those that stand out are the ones that were written specific to our law school. Did you just take the same one and sort of give it to everybody? We do sense that sometimes. The ones that stand out are the ones where we really get a sense of who you are, what you want to do, what your dreams are, what your experiences have been. So we really do read all of the materials you send in, and the more you can be honest, provide us with your experiences, etc., the better.
We ask for letters of recommendation. We have so many years of experience with other countries that we know sometimes it's hard to get the kind of letter that I write. For example, when I'm writing for graduates, I write a very personal letter with specific ideas in it, and I don't even show it to the student. I know in some countries it's really hard to get an important professor to give you the time to write a letter of recommendation, but do the best that you can. Have somebody talk about your academic ability, and if you have been working, about your performance as an employee, the kind of person you are. But again, we know that that's not always easy to get the letters in the way that we would write them. So do the best that you can.
And I would just add to that, that's one of the key aspects of the Total Law Prep program. A lot of times when we apply to business school or law school, we're doing this for the first time, hopefully. So what does it mean to have someone who can walk you through the process and help you understand what it takes to secure a quality letter of recommendation, the timing of it all, because that's very important. You don't want to ask someone for a letter of recommendation 3 days before the application is due. The chances are it won't be a very high quality letter of recommendation. So right now, with some of the candidates who are in our Total MBA prep program who are working towards applying in September, I'm already talking to them, hey, start reaching out to those individuals that have worked closely with you, who know you, who understand you, who can write a very intimate, very, as Dean Maher mentioned, a very strong letter of recommendation that speaks to the specifics of your performance and your potential. And so those are the kinds of things that a mentor or a coach can help you with. And oftentimes, and because, our program is designed to support diversity and inclusion along racial and ethnic lines, these are some of the aspects of being an Afro-descendant or a minority that sometimes are a challenge, because you don't have someone in your family who went to law school. You don't know anyone who earned an LLM. Ellie, I don't know how many people you know from Quibdó or Chocó who went to the United States and earned an LLM or JD. So oftentimes we're not connected to these networks or to the right people, not the right people, but the people who actually have this experience and knowledge. So again, one of the key features of our program is to ensure that you understand what it takes, what is required, what is expected when you apply to a law school program in the United States. This is all, all of these things are usually something that you've never done before. So it's always good to have someone who can coach and mentor you and take you through the process. So I'll end it there. And I think we can jump into the next question. And there were a few questions that dealt with, what are the requirements to get in? And I think, we covered that. So we'll go on to a question from another area, which deals more so along the lines of a very important topic, which is funding or financing your education. So I'm going to pop up this question. What type of funding opportunities are available for international students within the LLM program?
Again, if I may take the lead, we certainly encourage students to investigate every kind of outside funding that there is. We accept students from Fulbright, the Fulbright program. There are particular funding agencies working, for example, with the country of Afghanistan, with the West Bank of Palestinian territories that we have relationships with. They provide some funding, and then Duke Law School provides some tuition scholarship funding. It varies how much we can offer. To some extent, it varies on how generous our graduates have been in giving donations that are used for scholarships. We also have an endowed scholarship that is to support somebody from a developing country or a developing region, and that would provide a full tuition scholarship. That leaves the living expenses and the student fees. Student fees include things like the gym facility or health insurance or the health facility. And again, that kind of funding is really important to find some help from other sources. It is not as expensive to live here as it would be to live in New York or San Francisco or Boston or Chicago, any of those big cities. That helps a little bit. Some students will find some work during the academic year, but quite frankly, you should be working almost all of the time on your studies because they are demanding. But it's possible to be a research assistant to a professor if the professor decides to hire you, and earn a little bit of spending money in that way. Maybe Ellie would like to tell a little bit more about how you figured out funding.
Well, in my particular example, I would say that something that I mentioned in the previous webinar, you have to do your research, as Di Maher also mentioned. You have to look for opportunities, funding opportunities in your country. We know that in Colombia we have Fulbright, we have Colfuturo. We also can look for Open Society, the Ford Foundation, and we have to reach out to people. We have to send email to ask for help because the help is there. We just have to know the people who have to reach out, and we have to know where to look for the help and the support. And at the same time, as Di Maher mentioned, Duke also offers some opportunities. You have to be outstanding. You have to be excellent. You have to tell your story through a statement that you have, personal statement you have to provide in your application. And as they said, the evaluation that they do of the candidate is a holistic evaluation. They look everything you provide is not only your professional experience, is not only your English level, is not only that you have a background from the best university in Colombia. No, you have to show more. You have to show how engaged you have been with your communities, how engaged you will be once you finish your master program, that the investment they do in you will be valuable not only for you and your family, but also for society in general. Something more that I would say is that, well, I was very lucky with Duke, that I also got a scholarship after I graduated from the LLM program. This was a special scholarship to do an internship in the United States. So that was the way I arrived to the organization I'm working with right now. So I did my internship thanks to the support of Duke Law and also the support of the Racial Discrimination Watch in Colombia. So that is to let you know that you can find the help, but you have to start as soon as you can. This is not something that you do 2 months or 3 months before you apply to the university. It's something that you have to plan in advance, and sometimes it can take 1 year or 1.5 years. For me, it took 1 year to prepare my LLM studies in the US. So do it now if you have the opportunity. And if you need some help, I also can provide some guidance and recommendations to the organizations or places you can look for support, financial support.
I'd also like to just add a few things from my perspective. Working with our MBA prep program and having secured a number of scholarships when I was going to business school. And I think this applies to any school. The first step is getting in, be accepted to a top school, right? Or a school. Because it's much easier for you to go to an organization or to a foundation or to a donor. You can even do crowdfunding. You can even do a GoFundMe page, but you have to be able to say that you have achieved something to support the funding that you need. So you're in a much better position if you say, hey, in Ellie's case, I'm Ellie. I'm one of the few Afro-Colombian women from Chocó to ever be accepted to the Duke Law School, ever, or any top law school. And my only challenge is that I don't have the financial resources to attend the program. You're in a much better position if you go to a donor or to the Ford Foundation, to Open Society, to the government of Colombia, to USAID, to the US Embassy. You're in a much better position if you go to these organizations and you say that you have already secured a letter of admission or acceptance, as opposed to not having anything, right? And if you have multiple acceptance letters to schools, you're in an even better position to secure those funds. My job, my goal, my mission as the CEO of TalentoTotal for anyone who's in our program is to secure a full scholarship for you. And we work very hard to do that. And we are living in a very interesting time right now, especially with a focus on diversity when it comes to race and ethnicity. So a lot of law firms, a lot of organizations, a lot of governments are starting to realize that there is a huge disparity in the representation of Afro-descendant, Afro-Latino international students, Afro-Latino lawyers. So over the next couple of years, you will start to see more attention given to this particular challenge. And that is a key opportunity for people or applicants from that demographic to secure support. Because one of the reasons that you don't go to a law school, especially if you've been accepted, is because you cannot afford it. If you have made the effort and you have secured the letter of acceptance or admission, then there are people and there are organizations and there are resources that are available to you. But as Ellie mentioned previously, you cannot wait until the last minute. So first order of business, apply with a great application, ensure that to the best of your ability that you're accepted. and then work really hard to secure that funding that you need to complete the education. I'm going to do my best, and we're going to do our best as an organization to support anyone in our program who's been accepted to a top law school. I promise that if you're accepted to a great law school, the reason that you do not go will not be financial. That's my promise. Everyone can hold me to it. I'll find the money. Just work hard on being accepted. Cool. So I think one of the other questions that we had, I think, let me go back up a little bit. Oh, here it is. So this is, I'm not a lawyer. I'm not the resident expert. There's a question about the bar exam. So how does that relate to an LLM student? What are the opportunities to take the bar? What are the advantages and benefits of passing the bar in the United States? And what kind of value does that provide, especially if you return to your home country and you may be interested in working at an international law firm? And I think that question came from when it's here. So I'll hand it off to the experts.
Okay. I think that was the way you phrased the question, Jem, is probably really important for everybody. They're all asking themselves, what about the bar exam? Although the exact question from that was posted is whether the bar exam admission is required before that you can take the legal clinical course. Let me answer that more specific question. It is not necessary to be admitted to a bar to take the legal clinic course and to represent real clients. You're going to be closely supervised by a faculty member. Everything you will do will be run by that faculty member. And we have worked with the North Carolina State Bar to allow law students and LLM students to do this kind of work with real clients. So not necessary to have the bar admission before you can be enrolled in a legal clinic course as part of the LLM program. But the bigger question of should you try to get a bar admission in the US, and can you as an LLM, is worth talking about. It is possible to take a bar examination in the US with the Master of Laws degree. Not every state will allow that. And the strange thing about the United States is that your admission will be governed by a state, not by a federal or overall US bar admission. The state of New York is one state that recognizes the value of letting LLM students take its bar exam. It does set up certain requirements of what you must do within the LLM program, some courses that you have to take. You also have to do some public interest volunteering and have some work experience to get admitted to the bar eventually. But about 50 to 60% of our LLM students will take the New York bar exam after they finish the LLM. It's not easy to pass it. It has a passage rate in general below 50%. Duke students usually do a little better than that. They have taken Professor Idzelis's writing course, and that helps them write a strong essay for the essay questions on the bar exam. So we help students get together the materials that they need in order to apply to the bar exam. And we hope that they study well and pass it. And the advantage to them would be another piece of proof that they're ready to operate as an international attorney, that US lawyers might be in contact with them when they're back home in their own countries and their own law firms, that they can advise people, not specifically on US law, but they can make the contacts with the US lawyers. And they have proven that they are among a very elite group that has managed to pass this exam. That is pretty much my, you don't have to take it. A lot of ours, as I said, about 40% don't take a US bar exam. But if you can take it, is an extra credential that can be very helpful to you.
Would anybody else like to add to that? No? Okay, cool.
Yes, I would say that if any of the applicants that are watching now is interested in seeking for the bar in the US, you necessarily have to plan in advance. I will tell you my experience. When I arrived to the United States, I didn't know anything about the bar exam. I knew about the bar exam during my LLM program. At some point, I decided that I wanted to apply for the bar, and I knew that it wasn't going to be easy. However, during the process, I found out that you will need time. You need at least 3 months to prepare for the exam. And during those 3 months, you have to pay rent, you have to pay an application fee that is not cheap. So you have to have that in mind. Second, you need to take more credits than the credits required in the LLM program. So those things you have to plan, you have to take them, you have to organize yourself and plan all of those things in advance. So before you arrive to the US, you have to be clear whether or not you want to seek for the bar. You have to know how much money you will need to apply and prepare the bar. And you also have to organize your schedule to take the other credits that you are required to take. So for example, you have to take fundamental classes in such as criminal law, constitutional law, and those classes are not easy. And I tell you that because I took criminal law and criminal procedure, and it wasn't easy. So you have to keep it in mind. And of course, you will have the support of Leslie because she's very helpful with all the students that are interested in applying for the bar exam. But please, if you want to do it, plan in advance, organize your budget and also your time and everything, and study hard because it's not an easy exam.
And if I can jump to, normally you will be receiving an FAQ question document that includes everything that you need to prepare prior coming to the US. If you're thinking about remotely thinking about taking the New York bar, it's easier while you're at home, your home country, to get and gather these documents because you will have to get transcript from your bachelor's or LLB degree. It's much easier to do it while you're at home than while you're here and you're trying to schedule calls and maybe the mail service is not as fast as you want it to be. By October, you need to send everything to New York, even if the exam is in July. So you have to make your mind during the summer and start working and planning and preparing all the documents. And of course, while you're admitted, you will receive these FAQ questions and will be taking you by the hand on what to do and what not to do. But it is very important to have that planned ahead of coming to the United States.
Awesome. Sounds like the bar is something that everyone needs to pay attention to, whether they want to take it or not. I'm asking if we have any more questions from everyone here. I'll give it a few seconds to see, but if not, before we do wrap up, I would just like to say thank you to everyone who participated, Dean Mara, Ellie, Leslie, Rima. We really appreciate it. Thank you for coming on and really supporting our initiative to increase the number of Afro-Latino international students as well as Indigenous law students. You all have done a fantastic job with Janari and Ellie. You know, like you mentioned, Dean Marr, whether you intended to or not, you landed two exceptional candidates who come from a region of Colombia that is very much underrepresented. And as we could see here in the chat, there were a lot of students and participants who are from that region that Ellie is from, who are now interested in learning more about Duke Law School and can potentially follow in their footsteps. So we hope to continue this mission and hope to bring you more great candidates from Colombia and all of Latin America. And I'll just leave it to you all if you have any final parting words to say before we let everyone go and get back to our reality during these very difficult times with COVID-19.
I would encourage everyone to reach out and follow up with us. Our emails are easily found on website. We try to put a lot of information on the Duke Law website that lets you see what the program is like. I know Ellie would be happy to answer questions as well if you feel more comfortable asking her about her experience. But we would be very excited to receive more applicants like Ellie, like Janeri, and make them part of the Duke Law community.
I second that. Take a look at what Duke Law has to offer, and we very much look forward to hearing from you, meeting you, and just learning more about you, and hopefully having more students.
I just would like to thank Ellie for all the support, and Jem also for allowing us to promote this great program and the great community that hopefully you'll be part of it in the future. And like Dean Mar said, just reach out to us. We'll be happy to answer your questions, and we're here for you. I hope you have a good afternoon.
And TalentoTotal is very exciting. We are very thrilled to have met Jem and see what he's doing with this program.
Yeah, thank you so much all. There is something that Dimar didn't mention that is great and amazing here, and are the basketball games. Guys, you have to come to Durham to see the Duke University basketball team play. I mean, that's incredible. Last year we have the opportunity to have Barack Obama in one of the games. I also had the chance to see Spike Lee and so many basketball figures. So come to Duke.
Yeah, you can't beat the basketball games at Duke. And also, Coach K is a West Point graduate, so shout out to Coach K. And you all had Zion Williamson last year too, so I mean, I'm sure that was exciting as well. Yeah, you can't beat Duke basketball. You can't beat Durham. I think that I had a chance to go to Duke several months ago, maybe last year, to support a good friend of mine and his father, the Bouncing Bulldogs, a jump rope team there in Durham, or yeah, I'd say Durham Chapel Hill. And it was a fantastic opportunity to speak on campus and interact with some of the youth there. And just the Triangle, which is the area that Duke is a part of, has an amazing number of top universities and colleges, including a lot of historically Black colleges and universities. So, you know, anyone who's from, you know, Choco will have an opportunity to interact with a huge Afro-American community. So you will feel at home. It's very, you know, country, I think a very familial environment as well. Very safe, very advanced. So I really think it's a great opportunity to attend a program like Duke, and that area in particular is fantastic. So thank you all so much for participating in this call, and maybe we can do it again soon. And I'll see you as soon as we can get back up in the air. I will see you back in Durham, hopefully very soon. Or Dimar, I think you might want to come back to Andres, DC for a few drinks in Bogota.
That was fun. Sure.
Maybe we can do that too.
That would be great. That would be great.
We'll see who goes first. All right. Thank you all so much. It was a pleasure having you here. And go Duke, go Blue Devils. And we will see you all again soon.
Go Talento. Thank you, Sam.
All right. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.